My name is Crystal Puentes, and my interpersonal speech will be covering social media and mediated communication. I have had the pleasure of getting to experience of it. I know a lot of you have as well. I'm getting to see the transition from MySpace on the computer and on the browser of some phones slowly loading onto now they have apps for social media. MySpace is no longer really used, so now we have like Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and all those great things. A lot more on the phone now, not as much as on the computer. So it's definitely been kind of a huge change, seeing it from like 10, 15 years ago to now. I would like to discuss the changes that have been made in the past decade, or a little bit more than that, the shifts that mediated communication has made in social media, and just think about how it affects people positively and negatively. And on top of that, towards the end, I would like for you guys to kind of think, how has social media, even more recently with all the changes, how has it impacted you in your life positively or negatively? So I will first be explaining, so what is mediated communication and social media? So mediated communication is any form of communication that is not made in person. So any Zoom calls, FaceTime, just regular phone calls, texting, messaging through apps, all that is mediated communication. And then we have social media. So social media is basically kind of like a social community, or like media platforms like Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. All those are social media platforms. Even dating apps, all those are just ways for people to kind of post, communicate, see how other people are doing virtually, and all in a way just to be kind of social virtually. So that's social media in a nutshell as well. And also I'll be going over some terms for social media and mediated communication, just to kind of get into the gist of it. So asynchronous is basically any communication that's not like talking at the same time. It's basically like a text message, like you'll get it, but you might not reply to it. If you're like me, like 5 to 7 business days. Synchronous is like when you're on the phone and you're talking and you're exchanging constantly. So that's like more of a synchronous, or like Zoom calls, basically. Another terms that we went over during our chapters, like leanness or even disinhibition. So leanness is kind of the way that you would like text something and you're kind of left to interpret it. You don't have, like, instead of like, you're seeing my face right now, you're seeing my hand gestures, all that kind of gives you more understanding of the conversation. And like disinhibition is like when people are more blunt on social media, definitely more likely to express certain things instead of in person. Sometimes I don't know about that one. Sometimes people I know will just kind of, they'll say whatever they want to say bluntly in person too. So it just depends. But I feel like a lot more people are more on social media, will say a lot more things or be more socially expressive. And then there's like cyberbullying. People will be mean on social media when they wouldn't really be in person. They're like, oh, I'm not going to get punched in the face right now, so I can say whatever I want. It's not like they're going to do anything. They don't even know who I am, type of thing. If you want a good example, go to the Kardashians post. They have a lot of cyberbullying on there. Cyber stalking, I feel like a lot of women do this. I don't know about the men, but I know like when we start talking to someone, then we get all, who are they following? Whose pictures are they liking? Stuff like that. That's like on a lower scale of like cyber stalking. But then you got like those extreme ones that have like really bad intentions. Like people are like, oh, I'm going to stalk her and probably kill her later, type of thing. That's a lot more like they're like trying to find out like where's their address, like where are they at right now, what's their location. That's a lot more extreme. Very dangerous, especially for the younger generation. I definitely, that is a concerning aspect of it, to be honest. So the changes that social media and mediated communication have you know, even like in the past decade, but now like just in the past like 2 years because of COVID, it's just made a huge change or shift because of it. You know, my interview was online through Zoom. I would have never imagined my current job like a couple years ago. I would have never imagined having a virtual interview. I always imagined it being in person. Maybe even a phone interview. That was a little bit more like I had heard of those, but not like through video. I went through nursing school. Half of my nursing school was online. That was weird. You know, you're not physically learning how to take care of patients. Good thing I was already working as a nurse before I went back for my RN. So I already had skills, but for the people that did not have skills and who were not, you know, in-person learning, it was quite difficult for them. They were very awkward with patients, very lacked a lot of skills, so definitely there were some negatives out of that. Perks out of that, what I say, is I would be home. I was a lot more comfortable in classes, getting to, you know, just, you know, not even have to pay for like daycare. I could be in school and then have my kids here at home. They also went through that phase where they were doing school at home. Very tricky. It's very distracting for kids to be in their home environment to try and pay attention when they're not, you know, physically there. You know, they're like, oh, my toys are in the other room, or oh, the TV's here. It was very hard to keep them on track. So definitely a lot of changes have been made through social media. Like I said, like interviews, school, a lot of things really shifting. Work. A lot of people are now working from home. Something I never would have thought would have been a lot more popular now. It's definitely made such a huge change that people are working from home. Even my husband now works from home, which is crazy. All he did was travel for work. Now he communicates with a lot of people without even traveling. He's just at home all the time, which is great. So how it affects people in a sense, I would say it has its positives and negatives. You know, you see all those memes where people are like, oh, they're like rapping to gangster music, and then out of nowhere they're like in a, you know, they're just in a professional top giving class, and then like they have like their PJ bottoms, and you know, you really wouldn't do that in your life. You wouldn't take your pets to work. Not most people wouldn't anyways, right? You're not allowed to. So it's kind of like people are different. They are different on mediated communication when it comes to work even. And positively, I would say people are affected through like some, how do I say it? Some positive aspects out of social media and mediated communication. I would say the opportunities are definitely easier to attain. Back then when you were looking for a job, you go into the newspaper or something like that, and then you physically have to go and apply, and then you wait because it takes a while to drive there or get there, however you would get there, and then you have to wait for the application and all that stuff. It just would take a lot more time, when now you have like stuff like LinkedIn and stuff that you can just apply to like 50 jobs in like 10 minutes. I would know because I did something like that and I got a job like that. So it's very effective. People find love on social media. My best friend just got married to someone she met on Bumble. Congratulations to her. I have seen a lot of successful relationships that were born through social media. You know, plus a lot of people pretty much start talking like that, like even texting and stuff. That's how they stay communicated. It's really, like communication is key in a relationship. It's really helpful. Support groups are online. A lot of people find that very comforting that they're able to talk to a lot of other people easier without having to leave the house and feel supported, you know, be able to, you know, express themselves. It's very therapeutic. And then also another thing I would say that was really positive out of social media and media communication is bringing awareness to a lot of things. Like COVID was definitely, they kept saying that social media was blowing out of proportion. I feel like it did scare a lot of people, but I feel like as a nurse, I was seeing a lot of what was actually happening. Like I know they were like mainly covering like the worst of the worst, but I mean for us nurses, I mean it was really bad. It was. So, you know, like it did bring awareness. Like we needed people to know like, hey, like stop, wear your mask, wash your hands, quarantine if you're positive. All those things were basically put on social media, on TV, everywhere. And it was a good way to educate the community. And we just got to see the community try their best. You know, the effort was there, definitely. And then other things that were brought into light was like George Floyd. His case was very brutal, but I like how a lot of people, you know, stood up for it. They really did. It really did bring a lot of awareness to that unfortunate event, and I feel like a lot of people felt the need to want to make it right. They expressed it. It did bring a lot more awareness to that. I feel like that was very important. Vanessa, the Texas soldier that was killed, that was another thing that was brought to light. You know, they were looking for her. Even Gabby Petito, I probably said her last name wrong, but Gabby, she also was missing, and people were looking for her and her boyfriend after he went missing. So all that stuff, you know, brought a lot of awareness to helping them, you know, find them, like any clues or anything, you know. It also just kind of educates people a little bit, like in a way of like trying to make things or go about things in a safer manner, or just even bringing to light how unfortunate some things are and just helping, you know, fix it and resolve the issue. Some negatives I would say that come out of social media and mediated communication is, of course, catfishing. I mean, they have a whole show over it, so that is very unfortunate. People put their love, their time, and their money into it, and they're not even talking to the person they think they are. Sex trafficking, I heard some people were able to like get women or, you know, men through that, through social media. Murders, you see that all the time where people go on a date that they just met on social media and then they end up getting murdered. Bullying, I already went over that. Embarrassing posts, I mean, some people will literally commit suicide from stuff that is being exposed on the internet, because it's very permanent when certain like photos or intimate conversations are put online. You can delete it, but it only takes a couple seconds for someone to screenshot it or take a picture of it, and it's everywhere. I mean, it only takes a couple seconds to text it to like 100 people. So, you know, you see people, especially I feel like the younger generation is a little bit more like vulnerable when it comes to that. Like you literally see people commit suicide over that, and it's very sad. I've seen challenges, God forbid, some not very smart, right? Challenges that people start partaking in all because of social media. It's like, oh my God, yeah, eat some Tide Pods or whatever, and then people do it. Like, really? That I would definitely consider a negative. Definitely targets the younger group of people on there, the younger audience. And then also another thing is it takes away from people communicating in person. I feel like that takes away a lot. You want people to physically interact. People need that interaction. It's not too healthy to, I mean, obviously some people hate interacting, that's fine. But for most people, you know, you see COVID, a lot of people got depressed because they were just not seeing people face to face. So that's definitely the bad thing about it. So we're just going to go ahead and just give a brief summary. You know, we know what social media is now. We know what mediated communication is and how drastically it's changed. Not just in the past decade, but even in the past 2 years, it's definitely made a huge change. And I would just like for you guys to kind of sit and think about how, specifically in your life, how it has impacted you positively and negatively. Please leave a comment about my video and about how you feel it has affected you. And if you would like to change any online behaviors, what would it be? Well, thank you for listening.